There are many people who are confused about Tim Burton's sequel, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. The critics are harsh, calling out the pacing, the terrible plot lines, and the acting, and even calling the movie a hot mess. Me, I am a big fan of a mess, honey. I am old school, and I think that modern movies are way too polished nowadays. I love the grit, the grime, and the rawness of just good old-fashioned storytelling. In short, I believe that beautiful things are flawed. But sadly, people today are just too superficial. They can't read between the lines and understand that Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is really about the creative journey of love and loss. It's about how we fall in and out of love with people, careers, and even things. The movie is an exploration of how we can rediscover our passions by rekindling damaged relationships, or better yet, building strong relationships with self. So if you're a big Tim Burton fan or a Beetlejuice fan, you're going to want to stay tuned for this video.
I'll possess myself if I gotta. Whoa! Yo! I got demons running all through me. All through me. Come on down here and see it. And hey Jack, now, you get a free demon possession with every exorcism. Now, you can't beat that.
Alright, I can sum up Beetlejuice with just one word. Succubus. Or maybe two. Succubi. Come on, you can't be a goth fan and not know what a succubus is. I guess you can say that they are part of the demon family. But I think that a succubus is probably the most insidious demon of them all. Why? Well, because they tend to be beautiful creatures. Yes, in many cases, they're incredibly alluring, sweeping you off your feet and making you feel like you're walking on cloud nine. However, the succubus has an alternative agenda. Their goal is to steal your soul. Or another way of putting it, to suck your soul. Like a parasite feeding on its host, these succubi will drain you dry. And the scariest part of all this is that they'll make you feel good while doing it. Then, once you're all washed up and used up, they'll leave you for someone else. Dolores, the beautiful corpse bride in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, sunk her teeth in the Beetlejuice, ruining his life and sentencing him to eternal damnation. As a result of this, Beetlejuice wanted to marry Lydia, suck the life out of her, and drag her to hell.
When I was a teenager, a trickster demon terrorized my entire family and tried to force me to marry him in order to come back to the real world for good.
Succubus work very much like vampires, needing the blood of others for their own existence. However, in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, these succubi are not just robbing people of their soul. They're stealing their life force, their prana, their chi, or in other words, their creative juices. You see, very few people are creative. If you look at the numbers, 30% of the population actually creates anything meaningful. And the other 70%, well, they work as critics, consumers, or people who wish to profit off of the people who are creative. I know it's very sad. However, it's real, especially if you're a creative genius like Tim Burton, or if you're a renowned psychic medium like the fictional character Lydia. As a teenager, she had the juice to not only see ghosts, but to go against the grain. She was a pioneer of goth culture, helping teens understand the shortcomings of humanity and the beauty of honoring the dead. Lydia could see the dead, and unlike her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Dietz, she refused to profit off of them.
People will pay big money for this, right, Grace? Oh.
The Enquirer is offering $50,000 for proof of life after death.
Now, if you fast forward to Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, Lydia is a shell of her teenage self. She still has a gift of seeing ghosts. However, instead of the sight being a blessing, it has become a curse. So much so that she self-medicates. Whereas Lydia is dealing with her own succubi, or the male version of the demon, the incubus. Rory, the snake oil new age zealot, latched onto Lydia right after her husband died. He took advantage of her in a time when she was grieving, encouraging her to sell out. Now Lydia is a massive success, but sadly, much like the Maitlands, she's dead inside.
Yeah, ever since I sold out and got famous, we have gotten closer.
No, I started liking you before that.
Much of her juice has been sucked out of her, and as a result, she has very little energy to develop a relationship with her daughter, Astrid. Their troubled relationship started when Astrid's father passed away, and Lydia, a woman with the gift of seeing ghosts, couldn't see her husband's ghost. Of course, this story beat is analogous for all three characters being lost souls. Astrid is lost because, much like her mother Lydia in the first Beetlejuice, she doesn't have a real connection with her family. Richard, of course, was lost in the underworld and not able to give his wife and daughter the closure that they needed. And Lydia was lost because she no longer worked from the heart. She didn't love what she was doing. Instead, her life became one continuous performance. I think that Tim Burton, in his own way, was mocking Hollywood and how actors, both young and old, never develop a real sense of self. Instead, they hop from one character to another, adopting the ones that gets them the most praise and positive feedback. In fact, I think that Beetlejuice represents the actor who would do anything and say anything to get the role that he wants or to get what he wants. We see this with William Dafoe's character, Wolf Jackson. Wolf Jackson is an actor turned police detective in the afterlife, and he is so over the top.
No way. Underplay it. You gotta keep it real.
Yet he continues the clown act because it gets him the most attention. Mrs. Deeds is also someone who is overly dramatic. Her art isn't about authentic self-expression. Rather, it's about creating a spectacle with shock value. Mrs. Deeds was always about turning heads and turning a profit. She was so overly concerned about performance that she dies at the hands of her own art, joining her husband Charles in the afterlife.
Why are you doing this to me? This is my art and it is dangerous. You think I want to die like this?
Now, let's get to Astrid and her ghost boyfriend, Jeremy. We can see the same dysfunctional patterns playing out in Lydia's life and her relationships. In fact, Astrid falls into the same traps as her mother. Lydia summons Beetlejuice to help the Maitlands and becomes a child bride. And Astrid agrees to enter the afterlife to help Jeremy.
This is the 835 to the great beyond. All aboard the Soul Train.
Only to get tricked and stuck there. However, it is in the afterlife that both Lydia and Astrid undergo major transformations. Astrid understands that she is gifted and can see ghosts. Lydia finds closure with Santiago and rediscovers her passion and sense of self. Most importantly, both characters reestablish their mother and daughter bond. Through the strength of their relationship, they are no longer susceptible to demons such as succubi or incubus.
You're that thing from my dream.
I'm really more nightmare material, but thanks.
And that's because they found purpose and connection with each other. Now, Dolores entering the church and apprehending Beetlejuice is analogous of how demons will self-destruct without a vulnerable host to feed upon. Now, I think Tim Burton got his spark back, and he seemed to be having a lot of fun with this sequel. And I'm certainly looking forward to other movies in this franchise. So what do you think about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Please sound off in the comments below.